Have you ever come across a story, maybe an ancient one, that just feels incredibly, well, personal? One that lays out the whole messy, beautiful range of human experience, envy, betrayal, but also amazing resilience and ultimately triumph.
Absolutely. And sometimes those stories offer surprising insights, don't they? Into things like patience, destiny, how life kind of unfolds.
Exactly. And what if that story was also called, literally, the best of stories?
Ah, you must be talking about the story of Joseph. Our source for this, Joseph, A Tale of Patience and Divine Plan, highlights that description. It's a narrative tapestry, really rich with lessons.
It really is. And that's why today we're doing a deep dive into Joseph's story.
hmm
The source material is just so detailed, full of dialogue, specific events. It lets us follow his whole incredible journey.
From this beloved, maybe slightly favored son,
Mm.
all the way to becoming this powerful figure in Egypt. It's quite the trajectory.
So our mission here is to unpack those key moments. We'll look at patience, his and his father's divine planning, the sheer destructiveness of jealousy, and how truth, eventually wins out.
Sounds good. Where should we begin? Right at the start, with the dream.
Let's do it. We open with young Joseph. He tells his father, Jacob, about this incredibly vivid dream he had.
Yeah, the one with 11 stars and the sun and the moon bowing down to him.
Prostrating, yeah. Now, for people familiar with these narratives, that imagery, sun, moon, stars, bowing, what's the deeper symbolic weight there beyond just, hey, I'm going to be important?
Well, it's hugely symbolic. Jacob, with his, let's call it prophetic insight, gets it instantly. He understands its significance.
And his first reaction is caution, right? He tells Joseph, don't tell your brothers.
Exactly. He anticipates their envy. He sees this dream as a sign that Joseph is chosen, that he'll be taught how to interpret visions, perfected in blessings, like Abraham and Isaac before him. It's basically a divine blueprint for his life.
And being set apart like that?
Yeah.
Well, it definitely fuels the brothers' resentment. The source is quite explicit about it.
Oh, absolutely. They say Joseph and his brother are dearer to our father than us, while we are a strong company.
That phrasing, a strong company, what does that tell us about their mindset? It's not just jealousy, is it?
No, it's more than that. It's like their group identity, their strength, feels threatened. They feel overlooked, diminished. And that resentment, it quickly turns dark.
Really dark. Their first thought is chilling. Kill Joseph or cast him out to some other land. Just get rid of him so they can have their father's attention.
And the way they rationalize it,
Yeah.
thinking they can just become righteous people afterward, it's a disturbing glimpse into self-deception.
Yeah, the idea that you can commit fratricide, essentially, and then just be good.
Yeah.
Wow. But then one brother steps in.
Right, a crucial moment. He suggests, don't kill Joseph, but throw him into the bottom of the well. The hope being maybe some travelers may pick him up.
It's still a horrific act, abandoning him like that, but it's a step back from outright murder, a slight mitigation,
A
perhaps.
pivotal one, yes.
Yeah.
It changes the immediate course of events.
Mm.
Then comes the deception of their father.
They put on this whole act, asking Jacob if they can take Joseph out to play and enjoy himself, promising to protect him.
But Jacob's hesitant. He feels it, doesn't he? He says, indeed, it saddens me that you should take him, and I fear that a wolf would eat him while you are heedless of him.
Such a specific fear, and tragically ironic given what they end up telling him.
And their response is just so dismissive. If a wolf should eat him while we are a strong company, then indeed we would be losers, basically brushing off his concern.
It really shows their determination, their callousness.
So they carry out their plan. They cast Joseph into the well. But right there, in that moment of absolute despair, something incredible happens.
Divine intervention.
You could say that. The source says he receives this assurance. You will surely inform them of this affair of theirs while they do not perceive. It's this promise of future vindication, a light in the darkness.
Wow, holding on to that must have taken immense faith. Meanwhile, the brothers go back to Jacob.
Weeping, putting on a show. They arrive in the evening with a fabricated story about the wolf, and they have Joseph's shirt stained with false blood.
Just devastating for Jacob. How does he react? Does he buy it?
Remarkably, no. He sees right through it. He says, rather, your souls have enticed you to something. He recognizes the deceit.
And then rage, accusation. No.
Patience. He says, so patience is most fitting, and Allah is the one sought for help against that which you describe. Incredible insight, profound patience, and immediate reliance on God, even in overwhelming grief. It really sets the tone for his character.
So Joseph is left in the well. Alone, abandoned.
until a caravan happens to stop there for water.
Imagine being the water drawer. You lower your bucket expecting water and...
Good news. This is a boy.
Yeah.
Quite the discovery. Shock, maybe opportunity.
So what do? Rescue him
Not exactly. They decide to conceal him as merchandise, basically hide him among their goods.
and sell it.
Yes, for a paltry price. Counted dirhams, the source says. It implies they didn't see much value in him, just a quick, small profit. Reflects the awful reality of his situation.
Sold like an object. But this terrible event, it actually leads him somewhere specific, doesn't it?
It leads him straight to Egypt. And he's purchased by a very important man, Al-Aziz, often understood to be a high-ranking official, maybe the vizier.
Okay, so a powerful household. And Al-Aziz actually seems decent.
Initially, yes. He tells his wife, make his stay honorable. Perhaps he may benefit us, or we may adopt him as a son. It's presented as this key moment, this pivot.
So being sold wasn't just random misfortune.
According to the narrative's logic, no. It's portrayed as part of this larger, intricate design, a step down that's actually a step towards his destiny, like a divine apprenticeship almost.
And the source mentions he grows during this time.
Yes, and when he reached his full maturity, we gave him wisdom and knowledge. He's developing, learning, even as a servant in this foreign land.
Okay, so he finds some stability, he's maturing, gaining wisdom, but then comes another major trial, a very different kind.
Indeed, inside Al-Aziz's own home, with Al-Aziz's wife.
Right. She becomes infatuated with him, the source says, because of his beauty.
Yes, his appearance is highlighted, and she attempts to seduce him, locks the doors, commands him. It's quite aggressive.
How does Joseph respond? This is his master's wife, a powerful woman.
His refusal is immediate and principled. God forbid. Indeed, he is my master, who has made my residence good. Indeed, wrongdoers will not succeed. He invokes God and his loyalty to Al-Aziz.
So he tries to get away.
Yes, they both rush towards the door, and in the struggle, she grabs his shirt from behind and tears it.
The torn shirt. That becomes crucial, doesn't it?
Absolutely pivotal, because just then, her husband, Al-Aziz, appears at the door.
Terrible timing. What does she do?
She immediately points the finger at Joseph. What is the recompense of one who intended evil for your wife, but that he should be imprisoned or receive a painful punishment? Complete reversal.
Wow, so she accuses him of the very thing she was trying to do.
A classic blame shift. But Joseph defends himself calmly. It was she who sought to seduce me.
So is his word against hers, how is it resolved?
Through a brilliant piece of insight from a witness, someone from her own household, actually.
Oh, what do they suggest?
They propose examining the shirt. If his shirt is torn from the front, then she has told the truth, and he is of the liars. But if his shirt is torn from the back, then she has lied, and he is of the truthful. Simple logic. Genius.
And the shirt was torn from the back.
Exactly. Al-Aziz sees it, and he knows. His reaction is quite telling.
What does he say?
He says to his wife, indeed it is of your women's cunning. Indeed your cunning is great. Then he tells Joseph, basically, let this go, and tells his wife to seek forgiveness.
So Joseph is cleared? Case closed?
Not quite. Joseph is innocent in his master's eyes, but the situation escalates publicly.
How so?
Well, word gets out. Gossip starts spreading among the elite women in the city about Al-Aziz's wife being obsessed with her servant boy.
That couldn't have gone over well.
No. So she comes up with this rather dramatic plan. She invites these women to a banquet, gives each of them a fruit knife.
Okay. Strange party favor.
And then she brings Joseph out, presents him to them.
What happens?
The women are completely stunned by his appearance, just overwhelmed. The source says they cut their hands with the knives. They're so distracted by his beauty.
Wow, they actually injured themselves.
That's the description. And they exclaim, glory to Allah. This is not a human. This is none but a noble angel.
That emphasis on his physical beauty again, it seems almost like a burden, a catalyst for trouble.
It absolutely is. It highlights this theme. Joseph possesses this outer perfection, a divine gift, but constantly draws temptation and hardship towards him. His real test is maintaining his inner integrity despite it.
And seeing the women's reaction, what does Al-Aziz's wife do? Does she back down?
Quite the opposite. She feels vindicated, almost defiant. She tells the women, this is the one about whom you blamed me, and I did try to seduce him, but he resisted.
She admits it, openly.
Yes, and then she doubles down, issuing an ultimatum right there. And if he does not do what I order him, he will surely be imprisoned and be among the humiliated.
Incredible pressure. Caught between obeying her and maintaining his principles, knowing prison is the alternative. What does Joseph do?
He turns to God. He makes this profound prayer. My Lord, prison is more beloved to me than that to which they invite me. He literally chooses prison over compromising his integrity.
Prison is more beloved to me. That's powerful. He's asking for protection from temptation.
Yes, and if you do not avert their plan from me, I might incline toward them and be among the ignorant. He acknowledges his own human vulnerability, but places his trust entirely in divine help.
And his prayer is answered.
The source says God responded, averting their plan from him. But here's the twist.
There's always a twist.
Despite the clear signs of his innocence, the torn shirt, the women's testimony implicitly backing him up, Al-Aziz and the authorities, they decide to imprison him anyway. For a time, the text says.
Even though they know he's innocent. Why? To save face, protect the wife's reputation.
The text implies something like that. It seems politically expedient. So this unjust imprisonment becomes the next stage of his journey. Another paradox. Hardship as part of the path.
So Joseph ends up in prison, unjustly convicted, despite everything.
Yes. But even in prison, his inherent qualities, his connection to the divine, they don't just disappear, they find expression.
How so?
He encounters two other prisoners, young men, who have had disturbing dreams they can't understand.
Dream interpretation again. This is his gift.
Exactly. One dreamed he was pressing wine for the king, the other that he was carrying bread on his head and birds were eating it. They come to Joseph, seeing something special in him.
And he interprets them.
He does. But crucially, before he gives the interpretations, he does something else.
What's that?
He uses the opportunity. He talks to them about his faith, about monotheism, about his lineage, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. He emphasizes that true judgment, true knowledge, belongs only to God.
So he's not just showing off his skill, he's framing it within a larger spiritual context, establishing his credentials in a way.
Precisely. He's sharing his core beliefs first. Then he gives the interpretations, which are starkly accurate.
What were they?
To the one dreaming of wine, he says he'll be freed and serve wine to his Lord again. To the one with the bread and birds, well, he says he'll be crucified, and birds will eat from his head.
Chilling. Life and death, right there in the interpretations.
And then Joseph makes a request to the one he predicted would be saved, the cupbearer.
What does he ask?
A simple plea. Mention me to your master. Remember me when you get out. Put in a good word.
Seems reasonable. Did it work?
Not immediately. The source says, but Satan made him forget to mention him to his master.
He forgot. Just like that.
He forgot. And because of that oversight, Joseph remained in prison for several years.
Several years. Because the cupbearer forgot. That seems so arbitrary.
It highlights the theme of patience again, doesn't it? And maybe how human fallibility, or perhaps unseen forces, can impact timelines. More waiting for Joseph. More reliance on faith.
Years pass. Then what finally changes things?
Another dream. A really big one. This time, it's the king of Egypt himself who has it.
The king. What did he dream?
He dreamed of 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 lean ones and 7 green ears of grain alongside 7 others that were dry. Very symbolic, very unsettling.
And his advisors, his magicians, they couldn't figure it out.
Nope. They dismissed them as confused dreams, meaningless nightmares. They were stumped.
Okay, I see where this is going. The cupbearer.
Exactly. At that moment, hearing about the king's perplexing dream and the court's failure, the cupbearer finally remembers.
He remembers Joseph after all those years.
Yes. He speaks up, tells the king about the young man in prison who accurately interpreted his dream and his companions. He suggests sending for Joseph.
So the king sends a messenger to the prison. Joseph must have been overjoyed, right? Freedom at last.
You'd think so. But Joseph's response is, again, remarkable. He doesn't just jump at the chance to leave.
What does he do?
He refuses to come out immediately. He tells the messenger to go back to the king and ask him to investigate the case of the women who cut their hands.
He wants his name cleared first, publicly.
Precisely. He insists on establishing his innocence before he accepts his freedom. It's not just about getting out. It's about justice, about the truth being known. It speaks volumes about his integrity.
Wow. Even after years in prison, he prioritizes truth over immediate release. What does the king do?
He does it. He summons the women, including Al-Aziz's wives, and asks them directly what happened.
And what do they say? Do they cover for her?
No, not this time. The women collectively state, God forbid, we knew no evil about him. They exonerate him.
And Al-Aziz's wife, what does she say?
This is a huge moment. She steps forward and makes a full, honest confession. Now the truth has become evident. It was I who sought to seduce him. Indeed, he is among the truthful.
She finally admits it all, publicly.
Yes, and she adds this incredibly insightful reflection about not betraying him in his absence, but the nature of the soul and God's mercy. It's a profound moment of repentance and self-awareness for her character.
So Joseph is completely vindicated, now he'll come out.
Now the king says, "Bring him to me. I will keep him exclusively for myself." He recognizes Joseph's quality immediately.
He sees his worth.
Yes, the king tells him, "Indeed, you are today with us established in position and trusted." Instant recognition of his stature.
And Joseph, knowing the king's dream and its implications.
He steps up. He understands the dream signifies years of plenty followed by severe famine. He offers his expertise.
Asks for a job?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
He says, "Put me in charge of the treasuries of the land," and he asserts his qualifications. "Indeed, I am a guardian and knowing." He knows he can manage the crisis.
Confident, capable.
And the king agrees. Joseph is appointed. This is the fulfillment, the establishment in the land the source talks about. Proofs that the reward of the doers of good isn't lost, even if it takes years and immense trials.
An incredible rise. From the bottom of a well, through slavery and prison, to effectively running the country's resources.
Exactly. And now the stage is set for the next major act, the reunion with the family who wronged him.
Right. The famine he predicted hits the region, including Canaan, where his family lives.
And just as he foresaw, people start coming to Egypt for grain, including
his brothers. 10 of them arrive, seeking provisions.
Joseph recognizes them instantly. But they have absolutely no idea who this powerful Egyptian official is. Think about the power dynamic shift there.
Intense. What does he do? Does he reveal himself?
Not yet. He deals with them formally, maybe even a bit sternly. He questions them, and then he gives them grain, but with a condition.
What condition?
He commands them to bring their youngest brother, Benjamin, his only full brother, the next time they come. She says he won't give them more grain unless they do.
Testing them, or wanting to see Benjamin.
Probably both. And then he does something intriguing. Secretly, he has his servants put the money they paid for the grain back into their saddlebags.
Why would he do that?
The force suggests it was a subtle way to ensure they'd return. Maybe a test of their honesty, or simply a gesture they wouldn't understand, prompting them to come back for answers. Or more grain.
So the brothers go back to Jacob, report what happened, and say they need to bring Benjamin. How does Jacob react?
With deep sorrow and suspicion. His words are heartbreaking. "Should I entrust him to you, except as I entrusted his brother Joseph to you before?" The old wound is wide open.
You can just feel his pain. Does he refuse?
He doesn't refuse outright, but he expresses his deep fear, yet also his ultimate trust. But Allah is the best guardian, and he is the most merciful of the merciful.
And then they find the money in their bags.
Yes, which strengthens their case in a way. They argue that this official is generous, they need the grain, and they promise vehemently to protect Benjamin.
Does Jacob finally agree?
He does, but only after demanding a solemn pledge by Allah that they will bring Benjamin back unless they're completely overwhelmed and it's impossible.
He extracts a serious oath.
A very serious oath. And then he gives them this interesting piece of advice. Enter the city by different gates, maybe to avoid attracting attention as a large group of foreigners. Practical wisdom. But he follows it immediately by saying, ultimately, judgment is only for Allah. A mix of caution and faith.
So they return to Egypt, Benjamin in tow. What happens when they meet Joseph again?
Joseph arranges a private meeting with Benjamin, away from the others.
And he reveals himself to Benjamin.
Yes. He tells him, "Indeed, I am your brother, so do not grieve over what they used to do." Imagine Benjamin's shock, his emotion, reunited with the brother he thought long dead.
Incredible. What about the other brothers?
They don't know yet. Joseph hatches another plan, a way to keep Benjamin with him.
What does he do this time?
As they're preparing to leave, he has the king's special measuring cup, maybe a symbol of office, secretly placed in Benjamin's saddlebag.
Setting him up.
It appears that way. After they leave the city, a crier calls out, accusing them of theft. "You are thieves!"
The brothers must be furious. They just gave their solemn oath to protect Benjamin.
They vehemently deny it. They swear they didn't come to cause trouble. They aren't thieves. They even offer up a punishment according to their own customs.
Which is?
They say whoever stole the cup should be taken as a slave. They're that confident in their innocence.
A risky offer.
Very. Joseph's men then search their bags, starting with the older brothers, leaving Benjamin for last.
And of course.
The cup is found in Benjamin's bag.
Oh, the drama. The other brothers must be horrified. What do they say?
Their reaction is quite revealing. They say, almost dismissively, if he steals, Well, a brother of his, meaning Joseph has stolen before.
Wow. Still blaming Joseph even now, and implying theft runs in that side of the family.
Exactly. It shows the resentment is still there.
Mhm.
Joseph hears this, and the source says he kept his true reaction hidden, just thinking, you are in a worse position.
So Benjamin is detained. What do the brothers do? They can't go back to Jacob without him after that oath.
They are desperate. They plead with Joseph, who they still see as this powerful Egyptian official. They highlight Benjamin's elderly father. They recognize Joseph's good character, calling him a doer of good, and beg him to take one of them as a slave instead of Benjamin.
Will he relent?
No. Joseph stands firm on the principle or the pretext of the law. We would never take anyone except the one with whom we found our property.
So the brothers are stuck. They have to return to Jacob without Benjamin.
Most of them do. The eldest, Reuben, feels the weight of the oath and stays behind. But the others return and report the devastating news.
Jacob must be beyond distraught. First Joseph, now Benjamin.
His anguish is immense. Yet again, his response is rooted in that deep faith and patience. He repeats similar words as before. Rather, your souls have enticed you to something, so patience is most fitting.
He still suspects them, or just sees this as another incomprehensible trial.
Probably both. But his hope remains. Perhaps Allah will bring them all to me. Indeed, he is the knowing, the wise. He hasn't given up on Joseph or Benjamin.
His grief is described as intense, though, his eyes turning white from sorrow.
Yes, a physical manifestation of his deep, constant mourning for Joseph, which his sons actually criticize him for. They tell him he's going to grieve himself to death.
How does he answer them?
With profound conviction. I only complain of my suffering and my grief to Allah, and I know from Allah that which you do not know. It's this unwavering certainty, this private knowledge from God that sustains him.
And then he tells them to do something remarkable.
Yes, he instructs them, go and find out about Joseph and his brother, and do not despair of the relief from Allah. Even now, after all these years, he tells them to actively seek Joseph. Indeed, no one despairs of the relief from Allah except the disbelieving people. It's an incredible command fueled by faith.
So they go back to Egypt a third time, humbled, distressed.
Yes, they approach Joseph, pleading for charity, mentioning their hardship, offering meager goods. They're at their lowest point.
And this is the moment.
This is the moment. Joseph sees their distress, their humility perhaps, and he asks the question that changes everything. Did you know what you did to Joseph and his brother when you were ignorant?
He brings up the past.
Wow.
Directly. They must be stunned.
Completely floored. The realization dawns. They look at this powerful Egyptian vizier and they ask tentatively, almost disbelievingly, Are you indeed Joseph?
In his reply,
I am Joseph and this is my brother. And then he connects it all back. Allah has conferred favor upon us. Indeed, he who fears Allah and is patient, then indeed Allah does not allow to be lost the reward of the doers of good. It's the ultimate aha moment, tying everything together. Patience, faith, reward.
how do the brothers react to this revelation? Shame, fear.
Overwhelming guilt and shame. They say, by Allah, Allah has certainly preferred you over us, and indeed we have been sinners. They fully admit their wrongdoing.
And Joseph, does he lecture them? Does he finally unleash his anger after all these decades?
No. What he does next is perhaps the most stunning part of the story. Immediate, total forgiveness.
Really? After everything?
Yes. He says, no blame will be upon you today. May Allah forgive you, and he is the most merciful of the merciful. Just like that. No recrimination. Pure grace.
That's almost superhuman forgiveness.
It's presented as the pinnacle of his character development. Then he acts quickly to relieve his father's suffering.
He sends his shirt back.
Yes, instructing them to take his shirt and cast it over their father's face, saying it will restore his sight.
And back in Canaan, Jacob senses something.
Even before the caravan arrives, as they get closer, Jacob declares, indeed, I find the scent of Joseph. Even though his family thinks he's delusional from grief, that spiritual connection.
And when the shirt arrives,
They cast it on his face, and miraculously, his sight returns. And Jacob says, validating his lifelong faith, did I not tell you that I know from Allah that which you do not know?
wow, what a moment of vindication for him, too.
The brothers then ask their father for forgiveness, and he promises to seek it for them from God. The healing begins.
And then the whole family travels to Egypt.
Yes. The grand reunion, they arrive, and they enter Joseph's presence, and then the final piece falls into place.
The dream.
The dream. His parents and brothers prostrate before him, not necessarily worship, but a sign of respect and acknowledgement of his station, fulfilling that childhood vision precisely.
Decades later. Incredible.
And Joseph reflects on it all, acknowledging the entire journey in a final, heartfelt statement to his father. He recognizes God's goodness in taking him from prison, bringing the family from the desert, overcoming the discord Satan sowed between him and his brothers. He concludes, "Indeed, my Lord is subtle in what he wills. Indeed, he is the knowing, the wise." It ties everything together beautifully.
What an absolutely epic story. So layered, so intricate. When we boil down, what are the key takeaways from this deep dive?
Well, first and foremost, I think, is the sheer power of patience and perseverance. Joseph's patience, Jacob's patience. Enduring decades of separation, injustice, grief, but holding on to faith. It's remarkable.
Fascinating. And second?
The nature of, well, what the source calls divine planning. How seemingly terrible events, slavery, prison, were actually integral parts of a larger, ultimately positive design. It challenges our perception of misfortune, doesn't it? Suggesting purpose, even in suffering.
It really does. That things aren't always what they seem on the surface. And third,
I'd say the transformative power of forgiveness. Joseph's ability to forgive his brothers so completely, without bitterness. It's what allows for true reconciliation and healing. It breaks the cycle of resentment.
and it demonstrates the full spectrum of human character, the capacity for terrible jealousy and deceit, but also for incredible integrity, resilience, and grace.
Exactly. It's all there. The lowest lows and the highest highs of human behavior and spirit.
So how does this ancient story speak to us, today? We all face trials, maybe not as dramatic, but we deal with jealousy, betrayal, periods where things feel hopeless.
Right. The story asks us, how do we respond? Can we maintain our integrity when pressured? Can we find patience when our plans fall apart? Can we, like Jacob, maintain hope and trust in something larger, even when everything seems lost?
Yeah.
Can we, like Joseph, find it within ourselves to forgive?
Heavy questions. It makes you think.
It does. And maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Please.
Consider how Joseph's story redefines wisdom. It's not just about interpreting dreams or predicting the future. True wisdom, maybe, is about recognizing the potential for good within difficult circumstances, navigating them with integrity, and trusting the unfolding process, even when it's painful and confusing. What might we gain if we looked for those deeper patterns, that hidden wisdom, in the seemingly chaotic events of our own lives?